Well, my goal for today is to finally get power steering pump down there. I bought this new drill press because it's going to be a bit of a chore. And the reason it's going to be a bit of a chore is these are the brackets I bought off Amazon. I do not like the material. They feel very cheap and flimsy, so I plan on remaking them. The other issue I was having was I needed to make a stud for here for the bracket to mount on. So I actually bought some rod and some nuts and bolts and stuff over here to put in here. But in cleaning up my workbench over there, lo and behold, I found one. So I don't have to make that. So that's just a simple thread that down. And tighten this up. So now I got my stud for the back, and you need that because this bracket here goes on here and it allows this to pivot. Some people will put this bracket on there and then thread and just use a normal bolt down to secure this on there. I don't recommend that because there is an O-ring behind here, and if you take this out, you do have a chance of this leaking. So the stud is the preferred way to go. So I have a stud, so now that can go on there. So I have those two there, and then I have this one here, which mounts to the front, on the front side of this, and it looks like that. And so it bolts to the body here, and this connects to the water pump. Unfortunately, where I live, I could not find a piece of steel that's big enough, so I had to get 12 by 12 piece 3/16. So I'll just trace that out onto that, cut it out, drill the holes, and this one will be a little bit fun because this one is elongated, but I think if I just drill a bunch of holes and then, I don't know, file it, Dremel it, and smooth that all out, it should be fine. So what I'm going to do is basically keep one edge of this here, one of these flat edges to the flat edge of that, and then mark the holes, and then I'll do both at a time like this, and then mark the holes, trace them out, cut it in half, and then I can drill those. Now, one of the things that I've picked up recently is this kit here, and this is called transfer punches. And the reason these are handy for is it's got a very sharp point, and the thickness here is machined to a certain thickness. So, for example, these holes are 3/8. So I have that and this, and you can see it's a relatively tight fit. So when this is on your material, it lines up in the hole, so you always get a fairly consistent center punch instead of taking this, drawing a circle, trying to find the center of the circle with your punch and marking it, and then drilling it and being off, or whatever you may need, or however you may do this. So I'm going to try the center punch today. So first thing is to trace these out onto this steel, get them center punched, drill them out, and then I'll cut it in half so I have both pieces. And then somewhere in my shop, I have a little tabletop grinder or sander, and then I'll use that because I'll have to shape these and these corners and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna put you up on a tripod here. Okay. So I'm leaving a bit of a overhang on this side just so that I can cut it and sand it smoother. Got my marker. Just go around. Okay, so that's marked. My center punch. That one's marked. We're still flat on the back side. Marks. And now I got a mark there, right there, and there, which should generally be, or hopefully, the center of all these. Because these two are the same. Gonna do the same thing on this side. Just make sure I can got enough space in there to put my grinder through. My butthead. Right out. And repeat. Just right up there. One mark. Two mark. Three. So now you can see the rough shapes. You might be able to just catch it on camera, like right there, there, and there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my grinder and I'm going to zip this off. I'm going to drill the 6 holes, take my grinder, zip through here, and then shape these out, and those two will be done. All right, over here at the drill press, got my plate down. So you can see there, got my shapes and everything. I'm going to just pre-drill these, and then I'm going to use 3/8 bolt just as a template to make sure. That's in. First time using this, I have it set at about 750. I drilled through this, seemed to be all right. So, see how it goes. All 6 holes done. But I got an actual 3/8 bit, and you can see that I've been drilling okay without a problem. I did 5 of them with no issues. I got 1 left to do. Just got that clamped down on my vise. Using a little bit of seafoam deep creep just as a lubricant. All 6 holes done. 3/8 bolt, just a little loose, nothing too problematic. Call that a win. So now that these are drilled, I'm going to cut this down through here, make these 2 pieces, trim that off, do as much trimming as I can, and then basically sand that out where I can on my little grinder. So I'll get this all cut out and then I'll show you the little grinder. So we made some progress here. This is my little sander. It's got an upright and it's got a flat on one side. And you can see that's my bracket. And you can see I've got it bolted to the original one. And then if you look real close, I've kind of got this down to the roughness, but you can see I got to trim all this excess off. I don't need to be perfect, but I want it to be as close. This side's good. This side is, no, this side's long. So it's a little thick still. I do wish for stuff like this that I had something like a plasma cutter or a bandsaw. So maybe my next purchase after picking up the drill press will be a bandsaw, just so I can make better cuts like this. I don't do a lot in this type of work, so it's not like I need anything expensive. I can usually pick up like cheap little 9-inch metal bandsaws off Facebook Marketplace for $100, $150, and I just need something. So maybe pick up one of those. So for now, just gonna finish cleaning these all up. You can see here I've got this one ground out roughly. You can see how rough and jagged it is. So I'll be cleaning that up. My sander just uses these little belts. I've only got 60s. I thought I had some 40s or 30s, but I've only got 60s. So I'm gonna have to pick up some 30s and 40s, or maybe just pick up some 40s just to have in the stash, so that if when I'm doing work like this, it goes a little bit quicker. The 60s are rough and coarse, but they, when you're grinding or sanding as much metal as I am, they go pretty quick. So I'm just gonna continue working on these. Once I have them finished, then we'll have to make the big one, this guy here. And this one is gonna take a lot of the work. Not looking forward to that one, but it needs to be done. If I can get at least these 2 made so that it can at least be bolted to the car, I will be very happy today, and then I can focus on the other one today if I have some time, or I maybe have to do it another day, but we'll see. It's Sunday, tomorrow's a holiday. Maybe I'll have some time, not sure. Gonna continue sanding, and we'll be back in a bit. All right, bracket 1, bracket 2 is done. Now, because they're done, now we gotta put them on the pump. And that shouldn't be too bad, because, so the one has to go in the back on the stud. So my thinking for this was, if we get 3/8/16 lock nut, the lock nut will be good. Because if I put my bracket on, I'm probably thinking put a washer behind that, but we'll see how that goes. So put our washer on the back side there, this on the front, this on the back, and then we can put down our nylock. And the reason I'm thinking about putting a nylock on the back for is that if we cinch this down, it can be cinched down just to a point that it'll be tight, but it'll give enough movement like that. So now it's tight, it's got some pivot movement in there, it's not going to go anywhere. So now on the front side, I put a front one on, and I don't have to take the pulley off because there's enough room. So now I take 3/4 and my other one, and I can snake this one in here. Now this way, if I need to rotate it, all I gotta do is loosen off the one back in here, right there, and this will still allow this whole thing to pivot. Now, the part that I do not know if this will work, these are the spacers it came with. So just a couple of, again, chintzy spacers. I do not know, but it looks like I will be those will fit all right. I don't know if disregard. It is. I used it when I was drilling. So now I take my other cheap spacer, and we'll get a washer for that one. Line these up. And there's that. So now I will get my light hooked up and we will go over to the car and we will get these put into the block and see if I might want to get longer ones or if that will be okay. Okay, hopefully you can see something there. All right, well, those threads do not feel very good down in there. But that's basically it bolted. But I'm going to do some thread cleaning up and some chasing down there. So I'm going to get my tap and a die, or just tap out I should say. And I'm going to tap those holes out and get those bolts going in there nice and clean. So I'll get that done, I'll get it tightened on, and then you guys will see afterwards what it looks like. You can see got the lower brackets in, cleaned out the threads, that cleaned that up well. So now, because I've got the nylock back here and this one not tight, I can swing this. So it now swings up, and now you can see I got the other this other crappy bracket on here. I might just leave that one. I don't know. I haven't decided on that one yet. But if I swing it up, you can see that there's a gap in here. So I'm gonna have to get some washers to fill that space in. But the other issue I'm running into is this is the belt that I have on here. It's just 140688-2. And unfortunately, I don't know if it's because of the pulley size or what, but the belt, you can see just how much space there is there. So before I fully completely assemble this, I need to find out a replacement for this that will be slightly larger. Once I have that, I can then figure out and finalize all that. But I think for now I'm going to take that bracket off, and then I'm going to scuff and paint those two brackets on the bottom, and then figure out the belt and make sure everything's lined up so that we can keep going forward, because the last thing you want is a belt in your car to not be straight and throwing belts. So that's the next step. So for now, I'm gonna take those two brackets, scuff them, paint them, get those ready, figure out the belt, and then move on from there. Been a bit of a battle. Couple of reasons. So I got the pump installed, which is good. But my problem that I was having is trying to find a belt that worked with this. And the reason why that was a problem, it took me some time to find a belt. So right now, my pump is over as far as it needs to go before it gets tightened. And if I push it all the way this way, I've only got a few inches. And if I take this belt off, I just barely have enough to get this belt around there. And what I found for this, it's a company called Bando. The part number is 5PK900. That 5PK stands for the amount of ribs on this side, and that 900 is basically in millimeters, and I think it works out to a 36-inch give or take belt. So I was able to get that figured out, but then once I got that figured out and on here, my next issue that I was running into is if I take my flat bar here and I put it flat against here, and you look down in there, you'll notice that there's a gap. So this pump is too far back and has to move this way. So using that flat bar, I found two 5/16 washers will make up that space just fine. So now what I need to do is I need to take my pump off, and the bracket down there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those two washers, and on the back side of that bracket I will take these two washers and I will put those on the back side where the bolt goes through to shim that out just a little bit. Okay, so a few drill bits later, some drilling, some grinding later. You can now see down that bar, it's nice and straight. I think it might still be just a little bit out, but I don't care, it's better. And what happens if I try to tension this so that the belt does not rotate, and when I tighten it, generally what will happen is this whole thing kind of pulls towards the front. Okay, so I was able to get a few extra minutes out in the garage, and I think I solved or fixed my own problem. So the problem I was having was every time I would do this belt, it would kick this pump out this way. I think because I got the pulleys lined up parallel, what's going on now is before the pump was back, this was further back, and so when I would tighten the belt, what would happen is that it would cause the belt would cause everything to shift. So I now have the tension on here to hold it from moving this way. I got the two nuts on the bottom tightened, and I got the belt snugged. And if you look, it's not quite, but almost halfway around, so it's got plenty of tension on it. So I'm going to call this good. I will keep an eye on it. I will watch it, monitor it, make sure that it's not shifted one side to the other, or it's shaking or anything out of the ordinary for this. If I have to add that other brace on the back, I will, but I think for now I'm just going to leave it, run it. I still need to flush the system, but I need to move, or I need to get the tires off the ground first, but all the tires are flat, so I got to work on that. So I'll be doing the flush because it had transmission fluid. I want to go to synthetic in this, want to make a couple more changes, and so doing a fluid change and a fluid clean on this will be done off camera so that it can just be done. But for now, I'm glad to say that I will now have power steering in this car working as intended and should be good to go, which finishes up another major thing that had to be done on this. I still have a bunch more to do. I gotta fix the floor, windshield, gas tank, but at least the power steering is in and I can have that, because the last time I drove this, the power steering wasn't working right. And unfortunately, I took the bumper to the corner of my garage wall and cratered the bumper and cratered the paint. So I don't want that to happen again. So thankfully I will have power steering, and I think that's where I'm going to leave it for this one, and we will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. See you next time.